Hi everyone, welcome back to Connecting the Dots with KG. It's me, KG, bringing you episode 3, and I'm super excited for the guest we have with us today. He's an incredible human whose energy radiates positivity. His dedication to nurturing youth in the community is beyond admirable. He's head coach for the Northern Elite Football in Fort McKay and an assistant coach for Indigenous Football Canada. He's been a notable character in my life, and so I'm really pleased that he agreed to come on Connecting the Dots at the midnight hour just before he leaves town for a month or 2 or 3. Welcome to the pod, two-time national champ, number 81, Dylan Elias.
That was the best intro I've ever had.
Well, it's all true. So, hello, how are you?
Almost all of it. I need to fact check 2 parts.
Oh my goodness.
Northern Elite Football? You meant to say Northern Spirits Football.
Northern Spirit.
But I also run Northern Elite Football, so it crosses lines.
It crosses lines. Northern everything?
Yeah.
Northern Elite is your nonprofit that you started?
Yeah, and
Yes.
the Northern Spirits is the girls team.
All-girls team. First Indigenous all-girls team in so-called Canada. So, props to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that was a great intro. That
Thank
made me
you.
happy.
I
I
tried.
don't even think I've ever had an intro now that I think about it.
Well, I'll copy and paste this one for any future endeavors that you need it for.
Appreciate you.
I got you. So how are you?
Oh, amazing. Happy to be here.
Why?
Because you're a thoughtful individual, and I felt like this interview was going to be something that came from the heart, something
my
that you
goodness.
cared about. I know you don't do things that you don't care about, so I felt like this was something you cared about, so I was excited to come.
Okay, I was not fishing. That's very. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, and I do really want this podcast to be intentional and thoughtful, and the people I bring on are people full of depth, clearly full of depth. And so, yeah, I'm appreciative of your time, and yeah, let's jump right in. Tell me what
I'm
an
ready.
East Coaster is doing out here.
Every East Coaster came out for to clear some debt. Yeah, that's how I first came out here, kill my student loan debt. And this was the land of milk and honey and money in 2012. I think I came out here, 2013,
Oh, wow,
something like
okay.
that. So, yeah, I mean, everyone has a story. It's supposed to be like a, 6-month stint, make some money, take it back home, and here I am, like, 8, 9, 10 years later.
12?
Yeah, I can't do math, but it's something around there.
12 to 13 years later, you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we arrived almost at the same time. If it was 2012, same time, so 13 years this summer.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Wow.
You've sowed a lot of seeds,
Okay,
reaped a
apparently.
lot.
Apparently.
So tell me about your family and what they were like growing up. And yeah,
You're getting the Wayback Machine.
the Wayback Machine. Before we jump to today.
Mom, 4 younger brothers. I would say we grew up like in the city of Halifax, and I say that because a lot of people who come to Fort McMurray are East Coasters, Newfoundland, Cape Breton, whatever it is. Halifax is very different than the rest of Nova Scotia. It's the only like city. So a lot of people claim in Halifax from like Pictou County. You know who you are from the
We know
city.
who you are.
We out here. So yeah, growing up in the city was very like, I don't know, Fort McMurray is different. It's not really like a walking place. I find everywhere here you have to be in a car. So I walked everywhere as a kid. I walked to school, or you take the bus, but like, you know, everywhere is like accessible. It's kind of like a big city, but it's small enough. Like you can, like I could always get where I needed to go on foot if there was no buses or if I wasn't. House was really like full of love. Like kind of the energy I think you see from me is definitely from my mom. There was always like a daycare. She was like always had kids in the house, like always babysitting or like running. Those type like smaller kids were always around. There was always mess, Cheerios, paint. Like the house was always like a disaster.
Oh man.
But I mean, it was always like fun, and I think that's where I get that side of it from. Everything was always like creative. There was always like macaroni pictures or art. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think like my roots of growing up in that environment definitely like carried on into my adult life.
Yeah, because now you're surrounded by youth the chaos is good chaos. And
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I was always singing in the car. There was music. My mom was always like, always sports. Like, we're always throwing balls in the house. Sorry, Mom. We broke so much stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Did she always find out?
Yeah, because she'd come home and it'd be like, we had these like doors with like glass panels, and like every month it'd be like a new one like busted up. But like, come on, we had a bunch of boys.
Yeah, literally 5 boys.
Yeah.
Yes, but your energy is, yeah, as you say, very nurturing, maternal energy, which is sick, and I love that. I think that's what I think makes you such an interesting person, like playing the sport that you've played, which is very like aggressive and very primal in a way, but still being able to nurture strong relationships and inspire greatness in the people that you're coaching. So 2 sides of a coin. That's awesome. So how did you get your start in athletics? Were you always kind of, as you said, you guys were throwing balls in the house, but were you always in organized sports, or did that come like in high school later on?
No, I was always part of like, I think I've started karate when I was 6 years old, and I think that was like my first like actual organized, and then growing up, played soccer, basketball, football, pretty much everything. We played road hockey, like everything that bounced we played with. But I don't know, like I guess this was kind of my like journey later, but as I was like diagnosed with ADHD, I always struggled like academically. I was struggling in school, but socially I was very high. Like I could understand people's energies. I could read this kind of thing. Yeah. And then athletics, I was also very competent. So these were the areas I would just naturally gravitate towards, because that's where I felt like, even like I know like my grandfather, like I'd help build stuff with him, but I wouldn't really help. I'd just pass him stuff. Like I never understood it, you know what I mean? Like even like my brothers, their dad is like a plumber, and he can do that. So they kind of have like a natural ability to like put things together, take things apart. I just could never really do that, but like shoot a ball, easy.
Got it.
You know
Target,
what I mean? Yeah,
secured.
So I think as kids we just gravitate towards what feels good, and that athletics always just felt good, you know?
And so when did it like become central that football was the thing?
It's a good question. I would say probably around like junior high. That's when I was like, yo, this is the sport for me, because it's just, I know I'm biased, but football is just like, it's a different kind of game. Like there's no other thing that you get. I think you said it before, like primal. Like it's like you versus the person in front of you, and it's like a game of wits, because you're kind of playing chess with this person, but also it's a game of like brute strength.
Literally what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like playing the matchups all the time. I loved that part of it. It's like, because you do have to work like as a team. Like it's not like, UFC or something where that's pretty like violent as well, but this is like, you have to depend on like, 10 other people to be doing their job. So it's like there's that brotherhood that comes with it. So that was, I don't know at what age, but I know sometime in junior high it kind of like took over, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
That's it.
And then I never grew since then, which sucked.
So then you were like, that's it. Football is the thing. So yeah, that's like really good to hear you say like just how you see the game being. And that's also, I feel like for me, what interested me in football. Football is the second best sport. Basketball is definitely on top. And we don't need to debate that, right? You see his smile, he knows. But yeah, no, it is very much like strategic, and like the different teams that you have, like offense, defense, and then your special. And then the balance between who can outsmart the other, but also who's just physically ahead of the game. Like there's no stopping them. Like I remember watching people who were like the player in high school. It's just like you give them the ball, they're gonna run. Like there is no stopping them. Sorry, no matter how much your play tries to come into, it's just nothing can happen. So yeah, super interesting. And so tell me about your coaching philosophy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
When did you start coaching, and then talk about your philosophy?
2015, I started coaching. Kwame asked me to be a receiver coach on his staff.
2015?
Yeah, with the Ravens.
I feel like I thought that you were always there.
2014?
Really? Maybe.
Maybe it was 2014.
Maybe I had you for 2 years then.
Because Tola's first year, I wasn't there. His first 2 years, I wasn't there. Yeah,
okay.
It was the Ravens. That was the first time I coached them. Yeah,
Sick.
2015.
Okay.
I, especially like, I grew, like, my high school coach, bless his soul, Mike Tanner, I think at the point when I had him, he had been the same coach for 30 years. We had like 18 championships.
Whoa.
And I actually brought my little brother to play for him, and it was his 50th year as head coach. Those guys like been around, so he ran like a system, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you didn't show up on time, like bye, like, you know, we got other people. Like he just ran his thing, and you just gotta like adopt that, which worked for that. So when I talk coaching philosophies, I don't even think one's better than the other. It's like, what do you do? So in this kind of like community we have, it's smaller, right? Like you don't have, like for example, when I went back to Halifax, take my brother to that, there was like 120 kids at tryouts.
Whoa.
Yeah, so here, we're not even really making cuts. Like we'll cut some, but you know, we're not at that level yet. So you kind of got to work with what you have. And then especially with the Northern Spirits, like a very small community. So my coaching philosophy really comes down to like, who do I have, and how do I use that person in what works best for them. So what are they good at, and then I'll try to like tailor the plays around that for everybody. I also feel like this is a good kind of parallel to life. Like this is why I'm able to be so successful at my job, is like my boss sees what I'm good at, he lets me do that. He doesn't try to push me into spaces that I don't thrive in. So I try to do that with my kids. If you're good at this, I'm gonna find the best way to like bring that part out of you. And yeah, that sometimes can frustrate like very A-type personalities, because they want to see something like very black and white, but I might change the playbook a lot like during the season, just based off what I'm seeing. Like, well, this is really working, let's lean more into this. And that also can frustrate other coaches who might not work that way, but hey, it's worked so far. So.
It has worked so far. What are some of your biggest accomplishments with the team?
With the Northern Spirits? Well, I mean, first I would say just getting it off the ground. Like, to start a project like that in like a small reserve with girls, like this isn't a girl sport, you know what I mean? It's hard to get teams coming at a community like in general. So even just what we've been able to build from this thing is like incredible. Like I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that team. That's like my proudest accomplishment. Like
how did it start? Like what was the idea for the Northern Spirit?
Well, me and Kwame have been doing the Northern Elite camps, and we've been doing them in town. So we always reach out to like the surrounding communities and be like, yo, bring some of your kids out. And sometimes we get them, but they wouldn't stay, right? So during Amazing Race, me and Kwame had like a lot of hotel time just kicking it, and we were like coming up with ideas, and I was like, well, how do we get like retention for these kids? Because we'd have kids from like, even from Mackay, they'd come for like day one, they wouldn't show up for day two. So it's like, how can we, you know, fix that problem? So we had the idea to like, let's just do a camp for Indigenous youth in the winter time, and then hopefully they have enough fun that they want to come to the summer camp and like stick it out. And I was like, all right, cool. So we did one 2019 February. We did a camp for all just like Indigenous youth. We brought Jared LaRose, a guy from Saskatchewan, One Arrow First Nation, who played for BC Lions, won a Grey Cup, good guy. He came and spoke, but he also coached at the camp. And then after that, the kids were like, yo, we want to have a team. And I was like, I didn't think like that was going to be, I was like, shoot, all right, I'm going to find some money.
Yes.
It's like not cheap, right? So, you know, thank you to all the people who helped out. Like Boucher really got us off the ground that first year. So yeah, that summer I was like, all right, what are we going to do? Like, so we got to pick some colors. So we I took this little like It was like a coloring, like just blank football player, and I let all the kids color what they thought would be like a cool uniform. And then I post them all around the youth center and let everybody vote on it.
Oh, genius.
And then the one with the most votes, that was like the colors, the pink and teal that you see today.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
then we had to come up with like a name. So it was like, we didn't really have a name, but the Northern Lights was like something that came up, especially because it was like pink and teal. So we had to get the name approved by like an elder. So we went to it was Walter Orr Sr. And we went to get the name approved for the Fort McKay Northern Lights. And he explained to us, he was like, the Northern Lights are not actually lights, they're the ancestors that go up in the sky, and then when they move, they're dancing for you. So they're actually spirits. And then I forget who said it, but someone was like, Northern Spirits. And then that's how the name got made. And then from then on, like one of the kids drew up the logos. Yeah, so that's the logo that you see right there.
Nice.
And so yeah, everything came from the kids, you know what I mean? They picked the colors, the name, the logo, like it was very like community involved thing, and I think that's like gave it a lot of life going forward. And then yeah, the first year was co-ed. I didn't think I never coached girls in football. Shout out Shay. Shay was the only girl who ever like really played. And then yeah, so I just put it out to the community, and more girls. By the end of the season, we had more girls than guys.
Wow.
They just liked it. And I was like, all right, let's go. So then the league started up a girls league, all girls team. And then that was 2020. Obviously, y'all know what happened. Skipped that year, and then 2021 we got it popping, and yeah, so with 3 years running, and
wow,
no signs of slowing down
at all.
We made playoffs this year. We lost to West Edmonton, but they won the provincial championship, so yeah, we'll take our L's, but
that's incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like truly such a staple in my mind, and I feel like just the visibility of the sport, it having empowered so many girls in the community to like pursue other things in football, obviously with Alicia, but also just like the empowerment that comes with it, the confidence that they get to choose whatever future that they want for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alicia's another one who's been like, it's just crazy what she's been able to do with this. Like, she just came back from Regina, and they went to the championships, and she led the team in tackles, like how many games, and got player of the game. Like, these are big things coming from like, you know, small community, and she's killing it.
That's amazing.
So we're proud of her.
Yeah, your work, it's truly inspirational, and it's so community driven. And I feel like you as a person, like through the work that you've done, like with Kwame, and it was like, for me, the Dylan and Kwame era was a pinnacle, a staple in my like high school life, which is why I'm surprised like it was literally a year for me, like being in high school, because it feels like so much longer. But yeah, like that season of life was so impactful, and to see the connections you've made and continue to sustain and build on with the team as well is just amazing. I feel like, you're really connecting people with bright futures. You're connecting people with a new way of seeing a game that's traditionally male, and challenging a lot by just doing what naturally happened, like accepting the fact that, you know, more girls are going to play. It's like, okay, pivot, doing this now, not a big deal, and finding a way to create space for them. And it's like, it's just, it blows my mind, it boggles my mind, and I love it so much. So thank you.
Man, it's been so fun. Like, I think it's one of these things where I feel super grateful that I get to like do this, because I do get a lot of people being like, oh, it's so amazing, like you were able to do this and you did that. But it's like, I get so much back from that, you know what I mean? Like, that keeps me like alive. Like, I have so much fun. Like, this season was so, like, it filled me up so much, and like I can ride that high for like, you know, a couple months so I can get to my next thing.
That's it. The couple months that you're gone, yes. But yeah, like I feel like the way you have moved through this field speaks to like who you are as a person, and like your own personal philosophy for how you view the world. And obviously, like working in an Indigenous community, being exposed to that culture, like you take so much away from it as well, and how you move through the world. So would you like to share with us kind of your ethos, your spiritual ethos, how you see yourself as a being here. Yeah, because I see these tattoos. They're very, they're very, you know, deep, and I like that. So explain perspective, and then tell us your perspective. Yes.
That's a matching one with Izzy, actually.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think like the more I've been able to get comfortable in the space of myself, like for a long time when you're growing up, it's like, who do I want to be in this world? Who am I in this world? Like, you're really trying to like figure out what direction to go. And I think that was a lot of my early years, especially, and I talk about this a lot too, is like athletes, we attach ourselves so much to the identity of being an athlete, but no one's preparing you for life after that. Because no matter what level you get to, like some people only play high school, some people play university. Even if you go pro, it has a shelf life, and you're still a person outside of that. And I think a lot of kids, especially these days, as there's a lot more pressure put on, in a way that's like even different from when I played, which wasn't that long ago, but it's kind of like every year it's getting a little more, there's more money poured into these programs and a lot more pressure. So I think when you're really build your whole identity around being this thing, and then after this thing, you're just left to float in the world. Who am I? And you don't know, because you were always this thing, and everyone always supported you being this thing, and you had parents who were proud of you and friends who were giving you pats on the back, and then that's all taken away. So I talk about this as kind of like, you know, even like a cautionary tale, because there's a lot of people who don't, you know, survive that. So when, you know, I would say I was lucky, but I definitely had like my hard years post football to be like, what do I do now? This is all I ever thought about, really. I think that journey of like, and it's hard to articulate because it's more of something that comes from like the inside, you know what I mean? But if you can, I just try to always say, shut your head down, and like your heart usually knows what you want and where to go. And if you can really truly listen to your heart, it's usually telling you or guiding you like in a way. So I feel like I've been very guided into the spaces that I've been able to be these last, like, you know, 5-10 years. But there's a certain feeling that you get when you're like in the place you're supposed to be. And once you get comfortable with like sitting in, because even when I first started working at SOS, like they called me a mentor, and I was supposed to go in the schools, but I'm like, what do I know? Like I had like big imposter syndrome, and I'm like, you know, trying to talk to these kids about what? Like what do I know? I was working security on site 2 weeks ago, and now you're calling me a mentor? Like it didn't make sense to me.
Pivot.
Big pivot and big pay cut.
Non-profit.
Yeah, right.
It's tough.
But you know, the longer I spent in there, the more I realized, and I'm around teachers and you know, like counselors, and I'm like, why am I'm not supposed to be here, you know? And then as I spent more time, I'm like, okay, like they don't know what they're doing either. No one.
They come back, they're like,
nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the truth about it, right? So then I could really sink into that space. And once I started like figuring out what I was doing, and then feeling capable, and then feeling like enough and worthy in being there, then I could open up and be myself and express myself. And that's when all that stuff came in.
Wow.
So it was like I had to shut down that part of my brain that was telling me I wasn't supposed to be there in order to be there.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I think being someone who did play sports in school, I think that idea of your identity being lost once you're done, I can see that in folks. And obviously having a brother that plays sports, it is something that I thought about for him as well. But the truth of shutting your ego down, letting your heart take the lead, like it is so pivotal, and it can change so much for you in your life. And bring you to places that you question whether or not you should be there, but when you just let your guard down and let yourself just be in the space and become aware that everyone else is kind of just smiling through it as well, trying to make the best with what they've been given, you can kind of get to a place where you're good, and you start to receive, you start to be open.
But you also have to be, like, you have to check it too, because who am I now? Oh, I'm a mentor. I'm a football coach. Am I just attaching myself to another identity that can be taken away?
Ooh.
So it's like, it's layered, right? Oh, I'm a mom. Well, what happens when your kid turns 18 and goes, now you're dealing with that, oh, I'm an activist, or oh, I'm a cyclist, or whatever thing you think you are. Like, you're not actually that. You're doing that right now. And I think that's the thing that you have to, no matter how passionate, like this thing that you see on my, like, every part of my being is involved in that, but I am not that, you know what I mean? I'm just doing that for this time, because that's going to be over and times change, like, you know that, everything changes, so.
It is, and that's, accepting that is quite freeing, to just be like, this is where I am now, this is what I'm doing now, but this isn't who I am, you know? And don't get swallowed whole by the thing that you're doing.
Fight Club. I am not my khakis.
You're not. That is, so then who is Dylan?
That's the $1 million question.
That is.
I don't know if Dylan,
detached from all of it.
I don't know if Dylan knows. I don't know if anyone really knows. I think the best answer that I've come up with on that is like, who are you not? I think it's easier to figure out, well, I'm not that, I'm not that. And then as you can kind of like get away from what you're not, you get closer to what you are. But I don't know if anyone really knows who they are.
What principles guide your life then? Because that'll tell me who you are.
I don't know if this comes from like a life of being short or playing football as like a short cat, but like I always have this like underdog thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I always need to like root for the underdog or fight for the underdog, which makes a lot of sense when this like girls football thing came up, and like I was like, oh, okay, interesting, girls football, like whatever. But as I started doing it, I started realizing how much there was up against like, and I mean, we know this. We, as men, know this now.
He sees himself as part of the community he's serving. I love it.
But, you know, with everything that they've been talking about, like the WNBA, like there's been way more dialogue about this stuff, like, recently. So I think it's more obvious. But when I was like, yo, why is it so hard to get, like, and it's like, people just didn't really care about, and I grew up playing a high-level football, coaching a high level of football. So I kind of understood how these things worked, and then switch it to girl sports, and I'm like, oh, this is different. And like we're still dealing with it, like even like till today, like I still come up, I'm like, really, like we're still,
so they're just like, no, or they like,
it's just barriers that don't exist in male sports. As I probably don't have to explain it to you, maybe to you, but not to you. But
explain it to the audience. What are these barriers that we can't see, and how did your coaching have to change? You know, switching from coaching mainly boys, maybe you relate with more, I don't know, but and then switching to girls. Was there a shift, do you think?
I'm sure there was a coaching shift, but it wasn't like a conscious one. Maybe because I had already, again, I was in a very unique situation with those girls where I didn't just like put out a poster and random girls were showing up. Like I knew all these kids because I've been working in that community. So I was seeing these same kids like every day. So when they came, I already kind of knew their family history. I knew their triggers. I knew what they were good at. I knew what they weren't. I knew how to talk to them. So I did have like a different access into that world. So no, yeah, that's funny. I've never actually thought about how I coached different. But I remember we went to this, it was the first women's football conference last year, 2 years ago, but it was in Hamilton. And we went, and there was this guy giving a speech, and he was saying, and I coach girls the exact same as I coach the guys because they don't deserve to be treated any different. And I understood his point because, like, he was, you know, trying to be like, there's no difference.
Yeah, equity.
But then I was talking to my coworker Sarah, and she's like, well, but we are different. And like we have different life experiences, and if you really did care about us, then you would take that into consideration when you're like coaching. So I don't think that was like a fair point. And I was like, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that by myself, but she said that. So I think, yeah, it's even probably different coaching on the res than it is like in town. You know what I mean? Like I definitely, it took a long time to build the team culture that we have now. You know what I mean? You have to, I think also like hockey ruined kids.
Tell me about that,
because when you got like 70 games, the games don't matter as much. You can miss a game or a week; it's not a big deal.
See.
Bro, we got like 7 regular season games. Every practice matters. So parents don't understand. Like, oh, it's okay to miss a practice. I'm like, no, it's not okay. Like,
no.
But yeah, so that was like a huge like trying to get them to understand like that whole football, like every inch matters. But yeah, I don't even know what your original question was, but I think did I answer it?
What are the barriers in terms of coaching a girls team versus a male team? And then,
shoot.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one. It's like the biggest one that I noticed, especially going to the Girls Canada Cup last year. Like female coaches are not offered the coaching spaces the same as guys on a girls team, which blows my mind because do you consider female like a visible minority?
Yeah, women. Yeah.
So like, I'm thinking any other space, like an HBCU.
Yeah.
How many white head coaches are
running around there? Yeah.
But like, as soon as it's like flipped to girls, it's like all male head coaches, and I'm like, why is this acceptable? Like, who's kind of calling? You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, no one was really like questioning it. So I did a little post just to be like, hello, and it got a lot of comments. All girls, no guys. Yeah, it was like,
I'm not surprised, but
it was like 500 something like responses, all by girls. Like, thank you for saying the blah 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 blah. Because like, and again, it's funny because like I know there's girls who posted the same post that didn't get as much traction. That's my male privilege.
Yeah, your visibility.
That's just like from a coach's standpoint, like I saw that because we're looking at, you know, that tournament had like 8 teams or something, and I think like our team had a female head coach, and I think that was the only one. Maybe Quebec actually, so there might have been 2. But
the fact that we're like squinting, trying to figure out, it's mad because
you know
like
what I mean?
The players can't see themselves reflected in the leadership, and that's odd because people would be wilding out if all men's teams were coached by women, or like no one blinks an eye if all women's teams are coached by men.
Yeah, and like I mean, there's a million little things, but like I'll give you something that just like sums it up. So I went to the Guys Canada Cup. So I was coaching there for the week in Edmonton, and I got a nice sweater. They have like at the little thing there, it says like Canada Cup whatever year it was, 2023. And it was like nice Nike, dry fit, whatever. Yeah, and I'm like, all right, this is nice and warm. Go to Regina, same year, same Canada Cup or whatever, and I go to buy the one there because it said the women's one, and it's like, it's not Nike, the print is like way different, and it's like that no name, like one that shrinks up like this much. And it's just, that was all you need to know about like the whole system. It's like, these guys get all this, and then this gets kind of like pushed off to the side, like the leftovers almost, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just not the same investment.
And so I can see that you are like super intentional, like in terms of like every sweater you guys get, every jacket you guys get, like the girls are decked out.
Talk to me.
They walk up and people are like, okay, they got it, and they got supporters for sure. And like, that's obviously very intentional to show them that like obviously you're valued just as much.
I've never had a coach from another team ask me to buy a t-shirt.
Yo.
I'm like,
That's sick.
We just beat you and you're trying to buy.
Like, I'll rep your team.
Yeah.
Not even a problem.
I was like, that's messed up, but I'll make $20.
Period. And no, like, and the fact that it all came from the kids and people are so, like your logo is so impactful, the colors are so impactful, and yeah, I just feel like, yeah, you're doing a lot to fix the changes you see in the system within the team that you're coaching, and that's amazing.
Well, I'm glad you said intentional, because that's what it is. And I gotta give props to Kwame, because I did like steal a lot of my coaching stuff from Kwame, but like you're trying to build a culture. You're trying to get kids who don't think they want to play football to play football, but you know, as I know, as we get older, it's not the football. There's fun parts about football, but it's about being part of something. It's about I'm part of this thing, and I'm proud to say that I am this. I'm part of this group. So it's like the more you can like crank that to 10, the more you can amplify that. Like when I walk to school and I got my jacket, I got my hoodie. Like yeah, we go all out because like I'm building a culture, and I want people to look and be like, I don't know what's going on there, but I want to be part of that, you know? And this is the stuff that, like, I buy into it, too. I wear this stuff, too. I rep this stuff, too, because it's sick.
It is sick.
Yeah.
I love my sweater. Oh, it's nice. And so, speaking of Kwame, we've referenced him a few times. I think we should talk about the amazing performance on Amazing Race in 2018 and kind of what it felt like to carry the banner of Fort McMurray. Yeah, like I said, like you guys were building football into something that had such a spotlight and continues to have a spotlight in the community, and I just want to know like what that felt like to like be on national TV, represent a city that you've become so integral to the community, and just like what was that experience like, and what lessons have you taken forward with you from that?
It was so much fun. Like for the people who don't know, like it is very real. Like everything you see was not scripted. They didn't tell us to say anything. They didn't rig the event. Like they filmed us all the time, so they just picked out the parts that were the most entertaining, but you kind of forget the camera's there because they're just always on you. So everything you see was like very real, but they did a lot of stuff that was not even for the show. It was like for us. So some experiences, like I remember I think we're on like Salt Spring, and I had this falcon on my arm, and I had to like tie a knot or whatever. So to drop off the clue, I had to go stand in the middle of this field, and then this guy does this call, and this like hawk, like 10-foot wingspan, like out in a tree, comes like screeching, like, and then I have this thing, and he lands on my arm, and he has like the clue on his foot, and I'm like standing in the middle of this field, and this bird of prey just come like flying at. The coolest thing, like, you know what I mean? But that wasn't even aired. They didn't even show that. Yeah, so there was all these cool things that was just like an amazing life experience that like I was grateful I got to be a part of. And yeah, so like I said, me and Kwame might have been the one team on Amazing Race history that didn't never like fight, because we got to spend like a lot of time. So we like understood each other, you know? He got his morning routine, I got my morning routine, we don't get in each other's way. Like we just had our system worked out, because we had also been traveling so much, like coaching, going to coaches clinics, like we just had our stuff worked out. So it was like easy, you know what I mean? Like we've been doing this. Yeah, I was so grateful for that experience. And then just being the only team from Fort McMurray, we're like still in a little bit of post-fire, like hangover. The city kind of like needed like an uplift. And I think the biggest thing for me was like, again, I think I still didn't really realize the excitement of the show. I never watched it. Like I watched it in preparation, but I didn't know what it was like to have like a connection to it.
Right.
So when Boston Pizza approached us about doing like these viewing parties, I was like, I'm gonna ask someone to show up on a Tuesday and pay for spaghetti to watch me run around the world having fun. Like that just felt so self-indulgent, or like I was like, I don't feel cool with that. Like I'm not gonna ask someone to come watch me like and have fun. It just didn't make sense. So anyways, we spun it in like 15% of sales that night would go back to Northern Elite Football. So I'm like, all right, we can make some money for a non-for-profit, do the thing. Bro, first night like 150 people show up. I was like, are
almost
you
like you're popular.
kidding me? Like,
I don't know.
I was blown away.
Wow.
I was like, you got to be kidding. And then they gave us a microphone. We had answer questions after. So I ended up having fun. I'm like, oh, okay, people love this. Like, I thought it was gonna be like me,
Dragging
Kwame,
people.
and like 6 people like eating pizza. Like, yeah. And then by the end there was like 300. That place was like filled, bro. Like,
good for business.
So I think that was where it really hit me about like how much it meant to like the city, because I had a lot of people. Again, like, I didn't really think we were doing anything that was just out of the ordinary, but I was getting emails from people I didn't know from all across the country, or DMs just being like, you so inspired me, like, I did the, like, we had people who like quit their jobs and like got a new career. And I'm like, because I played paintball, like, I didn't really get it still, you know what I mean? I honestly still don't really get it, but if whatever we did in that thing made people feel good for a moment, like, because I'll experience that too. I'll go watch a movie and walk out and be like, I gotta do things different. I go home and clean my room and like, so I get it, but at the same time I was just like, wow, this is like really powerful, you know what I mean? Like, so what an experience. And like, again, I know like millions of people are applying to be on that show. I'd never watched the show, so I didn't take it as serious. When we first got it, I was like, yeah, cool, that sounds. We were doing so much stuff in that time
They're
that I was
buzzing
just
around anyway. Like another thing on
the
the resume.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
but that was really
like my mom tuned in. Well, obviously she tuned in, but I was like, we don't watch. She watches Judge Judy, Judge Mathis, and then friggin' Parental Court. So for her to be like, no, I'm recording it and then I'm watching it.
Mom's a real
big deal.
I'm glad she didn't have to watch me on Judge Judy.
Nah, Judge Judy would have taken you. Yeah. No, but it was just so amazing to have two people who I feel like, it's just mad that you just didn't even think that you were doing something that would have an impact on so many people. And you brought a level of authenticity, and you guys are just characters when you're around each other. So it was super amazing to watch, and just to show people again, like, being in Fort McMurray does not mean that you're limited in the things that you can accomplish. Like, this place is such an international space, and we're connected to so many different places, be it the demographics that live here or the people who are driven and continue to be ambitious and see this place as a land of opportunity, truly, which it is in a lot of senses. And just the way you give back, and you guys have started, Northern Elite, and it's like, I don't know. And even like the slogan you guys had, like, humble and hungry, like, talk about that, and like why that was like, the slogan that, I still go back to when I'm feeling like overwhelmed with the things that I'm doing. I'm like, just stay humble, stay hungry. You wanted to eat, so I don't know why you're surprised that the plate's full.
That was a Kwame one. He always had those, like, every year we had something like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pick up the shovel. We had all the good ones.
Oh my God! Didn't you guys have a shovel?
Work and earn. Yeah, we did. We had a lot of good ones. But Humble and Hungry, I think, was like, that was that year where we were just like starting to bubble. You know what I mean? Like, we're just coming off that championship season, and everyone thought they were. I mean, it was in your house, Shout out to Shark and Tola and the boys.
Gosh.
Yeah, they thought they were cooler than cool, man. So I think Kwame's whole thing was like, yo, remember, like, this isn't something that's like given. And again, a lot of these lessons you got to like throw back into life. Like, that's why I always say, like, the football field is like a mirror for like your life. The same ones who cut corners at practice are the same ones who are going to cut corners their job and their relationship, like all these things. The ones who put in the extra effort here are going to do it here. Like, it's usually not one or the other, you know what I'm saying? So I think Kwame was trying to let everyone know, like, hey, we had this success, but that's not just going to be given to you again. You gotta stay hungry, because we want that again, but also stay humble. Last year was last year. You leave that here, because we always say, like, at halftime, what's the score? 0-0. We gotta go out there and work for that second half. So he always had a way of coming up with those ones that were just right for the moment.
So right. Yeah, I truly the things that you guys taught those players, like, I hope it stayed with them, but even the people unconnected to the football team specifically, like, definitely carried that forward. So you guys are amazing. And so as we're talking about football, talking about giving back, and kind of who you are as a person, and how this program grew, kind of stewarded by you but driven by the youths. What kind of challenges have you faced in terms of your programming, and then how have you been able to kind of come out on the other side successful still, be it people, companies, however, or just like being determined within yourself to make it happen? Yeah.
I mean, our league isn't an Edmonton league, so barrier is always just going to be like location. You know what I mean? We're 6.5 hours north always. So, you know, we don't always get a lot of support in terms of like, for example, this year the league was like, yo, we're going to give you a home game. Really appreciated that. We had some smoke. We couldn't do it that week. You missed your boat.
Dang.
So now we have to travel again. We have to make up that game midweek. And then, so we drive down on like a Wednesday, play our game Wednesday night, get back on Thursday. And they're like, oh, you still got to play your playoff game on Saturday.
Mad.
Like, we just got back. Oh, yeah, we can't rearrange the whole schedule. So it's like, we always got to deal with stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I think, like, this year especially, the kids didn't complain. Like, the kids did not complain. And that's really where I wanted to get to, because that's always what I'm preaching, man. It's like, you can vent, you can be mad about something. Let's leave it. Let's keep it moving, because this isn't going to help us. And I think, like, we live in a world of people who want to complain without a solution. I'm like, and I always tell them that if you're going to complain about something, give me the solution, because then we can make something happen. Now there's action that we can take. If there's no action, then what are you doing? So this year, I mean, we faced a lot of things like that. I didn't hear them complain about it once, and I was like, that's where we need to be.
That's it.
So that lifts me up, right? You start to build that team, you start to build that culture, and people start buying into that culture, and now we got a squad. And that's why we were so good this year. It wasn't like we did have good athletes, but we had a good team. And this was the first year that we really like had a team. So like the community, I mean, we get money from, we wouldn't be able to do this without support, you know. Chief and Council, Paige, Boucher, BME, like Mackay's business, also the band, but Mackay's businesses are very good at like supporting us and keeping us going. But I mean, like, the girls are just like outstanding. They really, really like turned it around this year. I was so proud of them.
That's amazing. I bet you were proud. I would be proud too.
I was. I'm also proud to be drinking Fiji water.
Product placement.
Fiji.
Thank you so much. He's learned from his TV days. You know, you overcome basically by creating an environment for success for your players to be able to weather what comes.
As best as you can. You're not always going to get it right, but I think that's also part of coaching, part of parenting, part of being a human. Like,
wow.
You try your best, and sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. But when you hit it, man, it feels good.
Amazing. Speaking of hitting, what would you say to high school Dylan, who was hitting people in the field, number 81? Do you think that he ever imagined that he'd be sitting where you are today?
No. And I don't know how to explain this, and I don't really talk about it enough, but I think the confidence that I have now that you guys met me at, like, I didn't always have that same confidence, but I always had something that told me that, like, you could do more, you know? So I remember growing up and, like, really looking around and not seeing anybody who I wanted to be like. So I didn't have a point of reference of where to go.
But you knew it wasn't that.
Yeah, and I knew it wasn't that. And I think my whole journey from that guy was like, always like, I gotta get out and find more for myself. Like, immediately after high school, like, I was gone. And then, yeah, I think like every opportunity I had to like go do something else, but I didn't know what I was looking for, but I was following that thing that we talked about, like something's telling me I gotta move forward. And I think like getting to the spot where I'm at now, like I feel so happy, and I used the word grateful earlier. It's like I truly do feel grateful. Me and my mom just had this talk. I have this like, I know people do like gratitude journals or things like this. I think one was like built inside of me, like, and it's amazing because like, yeah, and she's like that too. So I guess now that I'm saying it out loud, I probably got it from her, but she doesn't think that. But it's like sometimes I'll just be walking like to the grocery store, and I'll just be like, oh, I'm really grateful I have like 2 arms. That would just suck if I didn't have an arm, just out of nowhere. And like I think these kind of thoughts all the time. So it's like I was always like happy at the place I was at in life, but I was never like satisfied. Humble and hungry.
Humble and hungry, baby.
Full circle moment. So it's like to be where I'm at now, like I couldn't ever imagine myself there because I never saw it. Like I didn't even know this was a job. I didn't. When you do that thing in high school where you're like, things you're good at, it's always like phys ed teacher and like but I didn't know this thing existed. I don't even know if it. I think I like, created it. Yeah,
like 100%.
Yeah. So, but I also know that I'm not satisfied. Like there's still more, you know.
Okay.
But it's good to be humble and hungry because it's like I'm not complacent, but I'm also still like I got visions, you know.
What are we seeing? Do you have a 5, 10, 15?
I can't do it because it's like it's always worked out for me. I just like I put my heart out. But the thing is, where I'm at now, I think like before I had nothing to lose, so I could just go with whatever because I'm not tied down. Yeah. Yes. Now I have things invested, so it's a little bit, the stakes are higher. There's more to lose, but I feel like that just means there's more to gain, but you gotta trust. That's where it gets deep. You gotta trust. So that was another Kwame, TTP, trust the process.
Trust the process.
But for real, like those are the things, those are the battles I have these days. It's like, ooh, like you're risking more, but like what do you want? If you've ever read like The Alchemist, there's a spot where he's stuck in a crystal glass shop. Things are going well, business is going well, he's making money, and he's like, oh, I could just like chill here. And it's like everything seems good on paper, but it's like you're not reaching the full potential of what you were meant to do on this earth. So I gotta always remember not to get stuck. And I think a lot of people do get stuck just because it's scary out there, man.
Yeah, and you can let yourself be bogged down by your responsibilities in a way that isn't freeing, and then it is kind of, okay, I'll just do this because I have to do this because I'm responsible for this.
And that's the big one. It's what we think we have to do, but we created what we have to do. So it's like you're a prisoner to your own
creation. Yeah. And so I love this question because I think it's quite telling. But what do you think your purpose is here?
My purpose is to help others find their purpose. And that took me a long time to like come to conclusion because I think I was like good at a lot of things. And again, when you didn't see it, it's hard to imagine it. So I had to really do some like dig deeping of like, okay, why do I like doing this thing? Or why do I feel like I'm my truest self when I'm doing this thing? And then the thing it always comes down to is like, I love helping someone. And when I say finding their purpose, it's the same as me. They could have like this purpose for like a year. You know, like I don't know if Cadence is going to become like the greatest musician that ever lived, but that's irrelevant because what we did on that stage, that was it for that night, and that's all it had to be. If everything I did with her led up to that moment, I'm happy.
That's it.
So it's like, that's really what, for me, when I say helping someone find, it's helping someone find that moment because those are the moments that I lived in, and now I live in other people's moments. Like when we have success on the field, I see this quarterback throw to this receiver, I see this person make, but everything came together. Talk to me. I'm happy. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. Oh, that's, amazing, and to bear that with such grace, and to just walk in your purpose with intention, and knowing that you have to know yourself to a certain extent to be able to guide people towards living out their purpose. Also, I feel like for someone like you, keeps you in a constant state of, I have to keep growing, I have to keep learning, I have to keep expanding.
Brooke McMillan told me, you can only take the kids as far as you've gone. And that stuck with me forever, you know? But you're right. I did have, like, even through this whole journey, there was moments in the beginning where I wasn't doing that for the right reasons, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like Kwame in his CFL resume, and I'm like, oh shoot, I need to do, you know what I need to impress this guy, or I need to beef up my coaching resume, or it's like an ego thing. But I think, like, as you go on and as you get older, you see people and you're like, well, why does he seem so self-conscious? He is this, like all the things that I thought would make, you know what I mean? And then it was like after Amazing Race, it's like, you know, I always thought something was going to give me that, oh, I got top 50 under 50. After I get that, I'm set. And then it's like, oh, well, I don't feel different. And it's like, oh, after Amazing Race, I'll feel like I'm the I still don't, you know what I mean? And at some point, it's just like, oh, okay, I am enough without whatever my resume says.
Yeah, literally.
And then now I can just do what I can do. So that's like, even with the Northern Spirits, like as we go on, I like take more of a back seat because I'm like okay with that. Like I don't need to be, look what I started, look what I did. Like it's not about that anymore. There was times when it was, and not because like I needed something, but because I was proud of it. And there was a lot of people who were like, again, back to like the ADHD thing, like there was a lot where I didn't feel competent growing up. So it was like I was trying to prove myself. As you get older, I don't even know if it's age, as you get more like spiritual maybe, I'm just like, hey, I'm just happy doing this, and I'm happy seeing other people flourish, you know? Beautiful. And I'm good.
And you're good.
Yeah. I don't need another thing on my resume. Like right now, I'm good.
That's it.
I don't even want another thing on my resume.
It's like, I'm definitely hungry, but damn.
Yeah. So now that allows me to do what I want to do for the right reasons. And I find as you kind of step more into that space, those things open up more. And I can be like, no, I don't want to do it. Like, you know, if it wasn't you who asked me, if it was someone who I didn't know, or I'd be like, no, I don't really feel like doing that. I wouldn't have done that 5 years ago. I'd be like, oh shoot, I got to do it because I need to add. Yeah, exactly. But now I'm like, I don't really care, but I care about you. So I would love to say yes to this. You know what I mean?
Thankful always. No, truly. And yeah, I'm so appreciative of your friendship and your presence overall in the community. And I'm rooting for you and the girls and basically everyone who's good to you. I want them to do well because you're so amazing. Yeah, so I guess let the people know where they can find you, how they can support, you know.
Hey,
plug yourself.
We're looking for that angel investor. You're just chilling, sitting on a couple, 200 million in the bank, and you're like, hey, I just want to give 70,000 to a bunch of girls so they can play one season. That's what our season cost. Cost 75,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
where can they find you?
Where can you find me? Instagram. I don't know. What's my Instagram?
Dylan.Elias.
Dill Elias. I'm terrible at answering. Find me on the street. I'm always at Birchwood Trails. Like every morning, me and Spirit go to Birchwood Trails. You can definitely track me down there. Summers is hot. If you go to the river, the one by Waterways, I'm usually down there between like 4 and 7. Spend a lot of time down at the river with my dogs. So yeah, holla at your boy.
And I will have his proper Instagram put there. But you see, that's him. Just chilling outside in nature, being grateful when he's randomly walking down the street. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. I know that the audience took many things away. And I know personally it's been really cool getting to know you a bit more. So thanks for coming on, connecting the dots with KG. It's been real. It's been true. It's been a gift. So thank you. And I'll see you guys again with another wonderful guest, or it'll just be me, who knows, next time on Connecting the Dots with KG. Bye.
Bye.